Salute Booktube. Welcome to my channel, the Saracen Salute. My initial video, I guess. I think I should do the Booktube Newbie Tag, just introduce myself to the world in case you were wondering or were curious. You probably aren't, but regardless, I'll make the video in case you are. I have the questions here, so I think I'll just go through them. So the first one is, why did you start this channel, this Booktube channel? I started it because I've been watching Booktube for a long time. I don't remember exactly when I started, but it must have been almost, we're almost going to a decade. I don't think it's been a decade, but it's pretty close, maybe 8 years. Just watching. I just said, you know what, why not me as well? Why shouldn't I make a Booktube channel as well? So, that's the main reason. So I'm just gonna fix this guy. Again, I'm new, guys, so I'm already, first minute in, I've already messed up the channel, or messed up the video, but because I'm new, you're gonna have to excuse me. Just gonna try to fix that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I want to be part of the bookish conversation, pretty much. What are some of the fun and unique things you bring to Booktube? Okay, I bungled that question as well. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? I don't know about fun. There's very little fun on this channel. But I think unique. I think the unique part is I'm not based in America. I'm not based in Europe. I'm not based in the Western world. I'm based in the Middle East, in the United Arab Emirates, the heart of the Middle East. So maybe I think that would be my most unique selling point, to use a marketing term. Yeah, most of the Booktube I watch, I do this in English, and most of the books I read are English. But maybe my perspective, the Middle East perspective, I'm not gonna say it's a better perspective, it's just a different perspective. And I think that's the most unique thing. But fun, no. No, there's no fun here. Again, mostly because it's non-fiction, and I think there's a question about what kind of books you read, so I'll get into details there. But that's the most unique thing, and hopefully it'll be fun as well for you. What are you most excited about this new channel? What am I most excited about? To be a bit narcissistic, the fact that people might be interested in what I have to say about books is exciting. I know that's not the standard answer. I'm supposed to say, oh, having conversations with other bookish people, and that's true. And I've been having that conversation with myself and over the screen with other booktubers for many years now. But for me to also be part of that conversation, and maybe to be of help, or to give people directions of where to read or what to read, or if we share common, all that stuff is very exciting. Books are just exciting on their own, Booktube or not, but the fact that we have this platform and we can share our ideas about books and what we're reading is really, over this medium with this technology, it's really interesting. Okay, question number 4. Why do you love reading? I don't know. I'm a bit introverted. I don't know. Why do you love it? Why? I haven't gone through this question. I should have maybe tried to maybe make some notes, but I don't know. I just find it cerebral. I find taking ideas from books, reading, just stores it in my brain better and makes me a better person. Again, because I read mostly non-fiction, I don't know, I'd like to think that I'm a good conversationalist because I read, I have some nice ideas because I've read so many books, and those ideas, when you watch it on TV, on a TV show or on a movie, maybe it doesn't stick, or for me, it doesn't stick in my mind, but by reading, I feel like my, the facts is stuck in my head, and I just process the information better via books. and the fact that you can do it in a quiet place. I have the luxury of doing it here in my book room in a quiet place, where I can just kind of get away from from reality, from outside sometimes. It's a good thing. And then there's so many subjects as well. Why you love reading? It's just infinite number of subjects on anything under the sun, and over the sun, and beyond the sun as well. So, what books and series got you into reading? Okay, so my book reading history is punctuated. I started as a young kid. My teachers got me into reading, and I really liked it. So this is elementary school up until the sixth grade, and then high school happened, and I became a teenager. And my teenage years was at the desert years. No reading. I stopped reading. I don't know, I guess when you're a male teenager, your priorities change. Um, I don't know. It's I would think it'd be tough to be well. I shouldn't say that. For me, it was tough uh, as a teenager reading. Just again, the priorities, the peer pressure. Although I could have probably read if somebody had pushed me to do it, but nobody did. And I just sort of drifted away from reading. But then once I got back to when I went to university, I got back into reading, and I haven't stopped since. So luckily, I went back to reading. That childhood passion came back to me. It had never really left, but it wasn't fed, and then I brought myself back into it. So, what books and series did I start when I was much younger? I still have a lot of the books from when I was a kid, and then I have no books from my teenage years, and then some of the books when I started getting back to reading, I still have. But um, I have a lot of the Scholastic books from when I was a child. There was that famous Goosebumps series. For some reason, those horror, they were just easy to read and very well written. But some classics as well, the Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia series, some Hardy Boys when I was younger. What other series did I have? I'm trying to jog my memory, but yeah, those were it. Okay, there was the Redwall series. That one comes to my mind. Redwall series, uh, by Brian Jack, British author, I believe, about uh, yeah, just you Google Redwall series. I liked it, and that really got me into reading. And then, of course, history, just history class. Once you get into past your primary school and into elementary school proper, you start doing history courses, social studies, and I just loved it. I just started reading history books, and I don't know, I don't know if it's genetic. I could pick it up, and I just enjoyed it. I loved reading history, and I loved even explaining it, going back home and reviewing it with my parents and telling them like this history and this history and this. So history, history class, just reading it on its history class, and then the other more fiction books. Although when I got back to reading in my university, after my teenage gap, when I went back to reading in my university days, it was all history and not fiction, which is, I think, the next question. Okay, no, the next question is what questions do you have for your favorite booktubers? Well, that's an easy one. What are you reading? What are you reading? And I think what you're reading, I think that conversation will be a back and forth. They'll probably have a question like, what are you reading? And then I'll be like, and what do you think of it? And then it'll be, maybe we should do that with my favorite booktuber, do a kind of like a Zoom chat. But that's what it will be. What are you reading? What do you recommend? Might be a number two, strong number two. But I don't think it'll be one question. I think it'll be a long discussion over many, many hours. Question number 7. What will be the hardest thing? Okay, the hardest thing of Booktube. Oof. I think the hardest thing for me is I'm not in the West. I don't live in the Western world. I was educated in the Western world, but I live in the Eastern world, east of Jerusalem. I Getting books in my part of the world is not as easy, I think, Getting English books, especially, is not as easy as, I mean, obtaining English books is not as easy. It's not impossible. You can tell most of those are English books, and I have many of them. But also, just, excuse me, just uh, obtaining books is not going to be as easy as probably in English speaking countries where the books are manufactured and there are more quantities of them. I think that's going to be one of the hardest things. Also, just me not being uh, in the Western world might go against me, might be a bit more difficult. And like things like time zone or maybe exchanging books, maybe that kind of stuff. That's probably going to be the hardest thing. Also, I don't know, recording. Uh, well, this is going not bad, so I think that'll be the hardest. Just the distance and then where I am and getting books, especially newer books. Um, Getting used books is more of a lottery here, and the options are much less. And then question 8, when did you start reading? Okay, I think I answered this question. I answered it about what got you into reading. So I started when I was very young, maybe, oh, 7 or 8 years old, just when school started, getting serious, I guess. Started reading. Um, and then in my teenage years, I took a gap, and then in university, once I got into university, I got back into reading. Um, Again, I started young, and I really liked it. I especially liked history, and what my family, my parents will tell you is that it's genetic because both my parents are non-readers, but my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was uh, a very deep reader, and he's also a writer. He translated a lot of books from English, Western books to Arabic. I've got a lot of his books. I inherited a lot of his books. Not all of them are here, but a lot of his books are with me now. Uh, and I have some of those. So it might be genetic, but when did you start? I started young. The teenage gap years were I was a teenage boy. Couldn't settle me down to read, to sit down on a chair and read. I was more excited, I guess. And then as I reached adulthood, I went right back into reading. And then where do you read? Or sorry, the question that was question 8. Question 9 is what kind of books do you read? What kind of books do you read? History. History. Most of it is history. Most of it is nonfiction. If history isn't number one, and when I talk history, it's everything. I've got ancient history, Middle Ages history, more modern history. There are different areas. I have American history. I have Middle Eastern history is probably my biggest, but then also American history, European history, British history. I have quite a few books because, as I was saying, a lot of the books here are that I get that I find on the used book circuit is British books, but not exclusively. Only I've got a lot of. I also, yeah, yeah. So I've got a history mostly, but I've also strongly linked to history. I read a lot of, not a lot, but I do read a lot of. Not a lot. I do read biographies, which is linked to history. Mostly of historical figures, but other biographies as well. I enjoy. I like sports books. I've got a few shelves of sports books, mostly football, mostly soccer, what you Americans call soccer, what the rest of the world calls football. Um, I'll read fiction. I do have fiction. I read the classics. I'll read. I mean, I tried to keep an open mind. I read The Lord of the Rings to get into fantasy, and I enjoyed it. But if you ask me to just read fantasy, I don't think that's possible. I also tried to get into sci-fi. I read Dune as an intro. Again, I enjoyed it. But to read only sci-fi, I don't think is possible. I tried other genres. I'll keep an open mind as I develop this channel, hopefully. And then question 10, where do you read? Right there. You see this leather chair right there? This chair belongs to my desk, which is right here. And then that chair is where I sit and read, and it reclines, etc. It's very comfortable. So that's where I do all my reading. I used to on my bed, but I don't know. You get neck pains. So the chair is much better. A reclining chair is a good compromise between full lying down on a bed and then sitting up straight. So yes, thumbs up for reclining leather chairs. And then last question, number 11. What kind of books do you like to read? Okay, I think we answered that. I think that's a repeat. I must have copied it double times. Again, I'm new, so if I mess up, etc., please do excuse me. But yeah, that's the Booktube Newbie Tag. Or very little preparation, no editing. I just putting it out there, and then hopefully, if you enjoyed uh, my responses and think we have maybe some commonalities, or you find this interesting, I mean, you're more than welcome to subscribe and join me, and please do get in touch in the comments any way you can, anyhow. I'd like to also know more about you. So with that, thank you so much, and happy reading. Salute.